Hello, listeners. 'Tis I, the Wandering Whimsy. This episode is brought to you by the wonderful creators at WatcherDM. We thank you for your support. Discover all their TTRPG gold at WatcherDM.com.
In darkness, the goddess flips a coin. 8 threads she weaves to conjoin. Bound by passions they need to sate, these shall form a twist of fate.
Family, I suppose, to me means home. I've not felt at home for such a long time, so the idea of family means home.
Family is an obligation. It's a part of yourself that you have that you can't control. It's a connection that keeps you away from parts of yourself.
Family's a bit fucking complicated, isn't it? I think family is more about who you choose, but the fucking thing is that your actual family will always be your actual fucking family.
Family is like a big, warm hug for every part of your body because you belong somewhere. But if you don't have any family, then, well, unfortunately, every part of your body's just a little bit sad.
Stride the back of Skyfire with Aras Vor off to the side. These 2 mighty sapphire dragons, huge in size. The glass armor that they wear atop their scales is scratched and pitted with dark arcana from their battles above the Spire. They beat a hasty retreat, thunder and lightning cracking around them, and in the distance you can hear the rage of the dark demons, these large creatures of shadow and black flame, accompanied by swarms of obsidian gargoyles. They are attempting to chase after you, but the speed of the dragons is keeping you ahead. Darkness slowly descends as night completely takes you all. Clouds block out the moon, and the dark seems to give your enemies vigor as you can hear the odd screeching and flapping of wings behind you, even over the rushing wind on the back of Skyfire. It's hard to hear a dragon heaving. You can tell that Skyfire is tiring. As you're flying over the swampy marshlands and hills below, Lazarn Velgar taps a somatic code to Skyfire. Skyfire then wings down, and as she does so, she looks back towards Aras Vor. You see Aras Vor, Skyfire's brother, give out a mighty roar. Turn and then begin to head back towards the enemies that are still pursuing you. Lightning crackles as he goes, and he summons his strength to buy you time so that you can recover from what it is that you've just been through. Skyfire lands, lets down a wing, and you can see that her body is flagging. There are wounds that have been gouged in through those crystalline scales, and they leak dark blue blood that is slowly traveling down onto her scales and her claws. But you can see also that there is black flame ash that lines her body as well. She is given just as well as she is received. In your minds you hear, "Go, find rest, get cover. Aras Vor and I will try and lead them elsewhere. You're the priority. Wish us luck." Woof! And then she leaps off and is away before any of you can say anything in return. The land around you is dark. Lazarn Velgar is barely holding himself up, the chains of the manacles still dragging, and he looks at you with a heavy gaze.
I will reach into my pocket and pull out a healing potion and offer it to Lazarn Velgar.
You can see the blank white hair that was once lustrous, now yellowed and sort of covering half of his face. The dried blood that is over his once fine gums is cracking a little bit in the slight movement. Holds up a small hand, you hear the chains clinking. "No, I don't think I'm deserving of that, and I fear that Before the days are out, you're going to need all of those for the task that you have ahead.
And at the very least, we all need to rest. First, we need to find a suitable place. Who here has those capabilities?
There's a set of ruins just up on this hill rise. I suggested it to Skyfire, and she's going to come meet us here once she believes the skies are safe once more. It's not too far, and it seems like small comfort, given what you have all just lost.
Well, sleeping in some ruins seems like an apt metaphor today.
See a slight smile attempt to climb aboard his face, but those eyes, those bright green eyes that have always been filled with such fire, such strength, you can see that something inside Velgar has broken. Something that not even Baron and Dark Vigil was able to do in this last month that he's been held in captivity. You all make your way up the small rise to these ruins. Thankfully, there are still some roofs that seem to be in place as the rain is still pouring down. It's not much, but you're able to find some comfort in some dryness, and there's a plentiful supply of firewood. It looks like this is a traveler's stash. Small amounts of supplies and sleeping gear is there, and you can see Nazran, Velgar, chains still dragging, manages to find a small hammer and chisel and just finds a corner on a rock and starts to slowly hammer away to try and remove the manacles, and the rest of you are able to do what you would like to set up camp.
Sazey walks to the nearest tree. It doesn't provide much cover, and she sits on the ground as the rain pours down on her, soaking her.
The branches creak and groan in the wind. Only you really notice, Sazey, but it does feel like even though there are no leaves of significance in those branches, you can feel there is a soft grrr as the branches seem to come together ever so slightly. You can feel only distantly, but a little bit of that comforting presence that has held you close in the darkest times of your life.
Fennec slowly walks to a wall that's still standing and leans his back against it, sliding down to the ground. He doesn't seem to notice the rain at all. Pulls out a flask from his jacket and just knocks it back. It's not entirely full, but he has a good half a flask, and he looks down, avoiding the others.
Rusco will start setting a fire in a sheltered place that it can't be seen from around. Some of his old training is kicking in, and camp and safety is first, and then he can think about what's happened once a fire is started and there is a little comfort around.
Those sparks are hard to come by. Despite the dryness of the timber that you're using, there's an odd shake to your hands. And there just seems to be this miasma of damp that is in the air that seems to have followed you from being up in the skies above, where the rain itself was being formed in amidst the clouds. But eventually, comforting glow of flame is there.
A lifeless trail of tears roll down Kynden's face. She looks around as everybody busies themselves, and she walks towards Fennec. But as he turns, she sees there's a flask in his hand, and her shoulders just drop ever so slightly. She looks over to Sazey and walks a little, but notices the space around her and doesn't want to interfere. So she just stands there in the rain, and the tears keep rolling.
Andromeda stands next to Kynden, unsure of how to help and incapable of helping. And she just slumps to the ground, puts her head between her hands, and vomits. And wipes the tears of blood from her face.
Vax looks around at his broken platoon and clocks specifically Sazey under the tree. He realizes that if he's going to have any chance of pulling them together, It has to happen, and it has to start with her. So he directly makes his way to Sazey under the tree.
Sazey can sense someone's coming towards her and uses mold earth to create a wall to block them from coming.
I would like to make an acrobatics check.
Yes, you most certainly can make a acrobatics check. The molding of earth as Sazey gestures, you can hear that as the rock and stone and mud that is there is just sliding up, creating this semi-slick surface.
A 19 on the roll, which is a 24 total. So I think rather instead of the earth coming up to create a wall, it is more of an escalator for him as he flips up and over, and Sazey has now trapped herself inside with him, the tree at our backs.
Not now.
Oh, yes. In fact, it is now.
Have you got nothing better to do?
This is the best thing we can do.
There's nothing we can do. We've lost everything. Everything we tried to accomplish is done.
Have you been a captain in war, Sazey?
No, I haven't.
Well, I have. Let me tell you that sometimes losses happen. Sometimes we lose soldiers. And sometimes there are casualties of war.
She wasn't a soldier.
No, she was a casualty. Apparently a greater casualty than we'd thought, because not only is she lost to us, her mind is too. It's been taken by an enemy force.
I don't know what to do.
As Sazey says this, the mold earth that she had created just starts to streak down, mimicking the sadness, and the rest of you can look up as these words are being said, and you see this confrontation that's happening.
What I mean to say is, Sazey, is that you need to get back up and in there.
All I do is bring chaos. I had no intention of hurting everyone. Everything that's happened is a result of me and my actions. I've lost my daughter. I've lost Val. Why stay with me? Why continue to follow me when all I do is make everything worse?
Kynden runs over and stops just short of touching Sazey and says, "We love you."
I don't deserve love.
Everybody deserves love.
Maybe nobody deserves love, but sort of the only thing we got at the end of the day, isn't it?
I can't keep putting you all through this. I can't be responsible for the lives of others. It's too much.
You're not responsible for everyone's here.
Aren't I, though? I brought you all into this.
We all had a choice. We chose to join you.
Because you don't know any better. You didn't know what you were up against. You didn't know the cost. And look what we've lost because of me.
Oh, we knew the cost. It was one we were willing to pay.
It wasn't one I was. And now she's gone. And now Val's gone. I don't know if I can live with myself.
Sazey, you have to. Because you are right. It is your fault. You led that mission. You did it.
What?
All of the responsibility lies on the field commander.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, we
listened to Sazey, so we did our part.
Fine, then listen to me now. Go your own way. I no longer need you. Goodbye. And she tries to walk off.
Gret? Gret! Do something! Why did you do that, Gret?
If you're not the field commander, then you need to get back here. Because if you don't trust yourself to make your choices, then I will make them for you.
What did you say to me?
I will make those choices for you. Because apparently you don't want the responsibility for your own life.
I am not your soldier, Gret.
Well, you're not my leader.
Nor do I want that responsibility anymore.
A good fucking thing then. Isn't Sazey? Yeah, what happened fucking sucks. But you do dangerous fucking things, dangerous results happen. And yeah, we lost Val. Are you telling me that you fought for this one thing for, well, I don't know how many years, but it sounds like for a long fucking time, and now, after you've come closer to it than ever before, you're just gonna fucking give up?
Fennec, I was fighting for my revenge. I had every intention of dying as a result. I did not intend to take on the responsibility of other people's lives. Yes, I needed your help, but I was perfectly capable of doing this endeavor on my own. But you all came along, and now I have to live with the responsibility of losing not only Tiny, but Val. So don't act like it's just something that sucks. It's horrific. A life was lost because of me. And now I may never see my daughter again. Yes, it sucks. It fucking sucks.
War is always horrific. She's not completely lost. She's not dead. Tiny's not dead.
She may as well be. Did you see her face?
We may have lost that battle. We have not lost the war. Not while we still have the energy and the will to fight. The war continues.
You have no skin in this fight. This isn't your fight. It's mine, and I've lost it, and I refuse to lose anyone else as a result. I will continue on my own.
Sure, do whatever the fuck you want.
I will.
It's not only about you here, Sazey. We are fighting against something too, and it just so happens to involve your daughter.
The whole world has skin in this fight. The ones who are responsible of doing this to your daughter are trying to do larger atrocities as well. If they succeed, we've lost everything. We are all in this fight. Maybe not just for your daughter, but for other things as well.
Sounds to me like you've got more to live for than ever before.
It's been 10 years. I've been living a life, working towards my own death. I don't know how to live anymore. I don't know what that looks like.
Andromeda looks up from where she is, a little ways away from the rest of the group. She locks eyes with Sazey and says, "You're just gonna give up on your daughter? Because no offense, if you've been doing this for 10 years without us, you haven't gotten very far, and look how close we came today. My parents would never do anything close to what you've done. And if you stop, then, I know you said you didn't want to have responsibility for others, but sorry, if you stop, then, I don't have anything. This group is, my only thing right now. So what, you're just gonna, walk away? And what? How are you going to get closer to your daughter by yourself than we were today?"
I don't know, but at least I can do it without endangering any of you.
I think the thing you might be forgetting, Sazey, is that we actually don't want you to get hurt either. And if you went away, you'd be taking that away from us, and that's not very nice. Because we want to protect you, and we want to save Tiny, and we want to do this for Val. We have to do this for Val.
I suppose you're right. But I don't know how to move forward. I don't know that I can lead, knowing what I've done.
Tonight's not the night to move forward. Belgar with a final clang, ting ting. The manacles come off. Steps out of the shadows, and the flames are highlighting and harshly shadowing half of his face. You can see quite viscerally the horrors and scarring that were inflicted upon him. He looks not only at Sazey, but at each of you. I applaud your fire. It's the thing that drew me to each and every one of you. But tonight's not the night for you to move on and know what your next step is. Rest. Allow yourselves to feel, because come the morrow, we are going to need to do and make more choices that will put us in this very position yet again. And you should allow yourselves one night where you don't need to feel that weight.
Before we rest, we must honor the fallen. And Rusco will pull out a bottle of liquor of some description, and he will walk up to the fire and he will pour it directly onto the flames. We'll hear a big, giant whoosh of flame will come up, and then he's going to use minor illusion to create in the smoke the image of Val in a heroic pose, sword up, shield out. That is for your sacrifice. You will not be forgotten. And then just bow his head and step back and take a swig of yourself, and then hand it to whoever else feels like.
Belgar will step up and take the bottle, have a swig. I didn't know you anywhere near as well as what I would have liked. But you never shied away from doing what was right. I shall endeavor to remember that moving forward. He holds out the bottle.
Gret picks it up, takes a swig, and then says, "To Val, who always knew how to live in the moment, in the heat of the moment." Takes another drink and hands it out again.
Andromeda reaches for it, goes to take a sip but doesn't, hands it off to who's ever beside her. And she takes a long green ribbon from her hair, which was a gift from Val not so very long ago when Andromeda was brand new to this party. And she slowly wraps it around the crossbar of her great axe, so that whenever she is in combat, she will think of Val.
Kynden absent-mindedly grasps the bottle. No words come. Those lifeless tears keep rolling down. The tiniest whimper escapes. And she holds the bottle out.
Fennec's been hanging back, watching everybody do this. He slowly approaches as he makes eye contact with Kynden and takes the bottle.
Kynden kind of pushes it at him.
Thank you. Val, I mean, I never told you this, but you kind of reminded me of my brother. Sorry for giving you such a hard time. I know you weren't much of a drinker, but here's one for you. And he pours a little bit in the fire. Poofs up with flame. He takes a swig himself and looks over at Sazey.
Sazey stares at the bottle and then looks into Fennec's eyes and slowly reaches for the bottle. Then she looks at each and every one of the faces standing around the fire and then ends looking at Gret. Val, I promise your death won't be in vain. And she takes a swig, holds it up, and looks up to the sky. To Val.
To Val.
After that, then the image that was there of Val will finally dissipate into smoke.
As it does so, and darkness begins to fall, as we fade from this scene, soft notes begin to play in the background. Faint hum as Aiko plays a ballad, one of a knight who seeks glory, not for fame or fortune, but for honor, to do what is right. Darkness settles. Takes a little while, but a homey camp is set. There is a wariness to you all, as you'll occasionally hear a branch snap or a fluttering of wings in the distance. You can't help but feel that pursuit that Skyfire and Arazvor went to deal with maybe just around the corner. Or it's been hours and still they have not returned. But the flames of the fire are strong and hidden. A meal of relative flavor and substance was crafted Your bellies are full. Your immediate wounds have been tended to. And you're all settling in for your own routine or dealing with what has happened. Aiko is swirling the dregs of a wine bottle, kneeling down, sitting in the mud next to Fennec, and in a very un-Aiko-like way, his clothing is still spattered with mud and ash and gore from the encounters in the Onyxium Spire. His hair is slightly mussed and out of place. He seems not to care as he passes the bottle back and forth with Fennec.
Well, you made it through another one.
That I did, my boy. All for the story.
I know we keep saying that, but don't you think you've found some things inside yourself that you didn't know were there?
Chuckles to himself and goes to swig on the bottle and sort of just looks at it, looks up at you, and you can see that there is that glazed over expression in his face, but seems to be a little bit more of a fire in his eyes as well. I think you're right, my boy. Must admit, there is a certain thrill that comes with all this. Starting to understand why you keep throwing yourself in the midst of the fray.
There is something about the chaos that makes me feel alive at the very least. I know I put you in a lot of danger lately, but I didn't mean to. And I guess I could have thought of you more, because I know you're not used to this kind of stuff.
To be honest, you've been preoccupied. Certain halfling seems to be the center of your protective gaze these days. And, I'm not jealous, not the jealous type, but I guess I am the understanding one in this circumstance.
Right. Well, I know Kynden can take care of herself for the most part, but now she's just too good for this world. You must admit.
Oh, indeed. Just, be mindful, my boy.
Right. I assumed, perhaps, that, you could take care of yourself.
You're not wrong on that front. The Wandering Whimsy has been perusing these streets of the realm for quite some time, although not often have I been affronted and accosted with dragons and gargoyles of darkness, I must admit. That's new and, scaling-wise, much greater than what I have experience with.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is over the last year, in a way, you've really taken care of me. You have my gratitude.
You have mine. Gave this old gnome a second chance at finding something that he thought was long gone. Just keep looking after Kynden. But don't hold her too tight.
Right. You're right. After what happened today, I suppose we can't hold anything too tight, can we?
Doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And he reaches into his bag, and his hand seems to disappear further than what there is space, and eventually pulls out another nice and sparkling bottle of whiskey. Time for something a little stronger.
You are so fucking right.
He pops the cork open, and they share it back and forth, and the flames of the fire draw us over.
Andromeda is down in the ruins where she's done a bit of exploring into an old wine cellar and has found several aged barrels of wine with Rusco. And she's in the middle of rolling them and getting them back up the stairs, and she pauses, picking up one barrel over her shoulder. Rusco, can I ask you something?
Certainly.
Did I hurt anyone today that I like I shouldn't have?
Not that I saw. I think he took some pretty good swings at Baron, but that's to be expected. He was on the wrong side.
Sometimes when I have a tantrum or when I get really stressed out, I wind up lashing out at everything around me, and I felt like that before. I felt like it all my life, and everything just went white, and I don't want to lose being with this group, but I also don't want to, like, hurt anybody here. Just, like, don't know what I'm doing at all.
You haven't been doing this for long, have you?
Yeah, so, like, I've just been off my parents' estate for, like, a month now, so...
Okay.
You saw how I set up my tent. It fell down.
Yes, I did notice.
Like, I hit the pegs really hard with my axe, but then it just, like, and then a rock fell apart, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, see, the trick is you got to get the posts in first before you can really put the peg. But we'll go over it. Don't worry about it.
I don't want to sound, like, bougie, but, like, the servants would kindly do that when we would, like, go camping on the estate. Like, you know, like, they'd set up, like, a nice, like, pagoda thing.
So, like glamping.
Yeah, like, I guess so.
Okay. Well, after we get these up, I'll come over and help you with the tent. But what I was going to say was that I've been doing this for a long time, and accidents happen in battle sometimes. We want to try and avoid that, but everyone understands battle is a dangerous place. And I've fought with people who have gone into the battle rage before. And trust me, they can be one of the most effective people on the team.
Not me.
You're fresh. You'll get there.
Hope so.
I know so.
Okay, so, like, should we bring back, like, 2 barrels or 3?
I think 2 will be fine, and then let's sort out your tent.
Oh, yeah. Andromeda picks up both barrels and walks back to the group.
Yeah, there's no way I'm lifting one of these.
The sound of wind and the soft chatter from Andromeda and Rusco fades. The creaking of the branches is around.
Gret is at his campsite and is taking pieces of kit off of his backpack, different small mechanical inventions that he's been working on. One mechanical invention in particular, a little spiked ball he brings up out of his bag, presses a few spots on the runes, and then it, zip, kind of like energized, comes to life.
Hello, Designation Gret. I've been compiling a recording of all of the data that you requested from our recent encounter at the Onyxium Spire. Would you like a report now?
Not now, Zeke, but thank you.
Zeke seems to, like, bob down ever so slightly, but then brightens back up as you continue.
Zeke, give me a spectral analysis of how old these runes are.
You see Zeke moves around, and as he does so, this triangular blue laser beam fade over with this wonderful neon color. It appears that these ruins are somewhere in the age range of 150 to 152 years old, Designation Gret.
Why did you just do what I told you to do?
Zeke shift its axis ever so slightly, like a dog cocking its head towards you, and looks back up. Why? Because you asked me a directive, Designation Gret. Am I not supposed to follow your directives?
Yes, you are. It's just something that Sazey said.
Would you like me to replay the conversation that you had with Sazey so that you can hear it directly, Designation Gret?
No, thank you. That would probably be painful for me.
Painful. Fascinating. Ooh. And Zeke hovers down, settles in, almost like a small child wanting to listen to story time.
The way that this group works, they don't always listen. They listened to Sazey and someone got hurt. I'm trying to figure out why Kynden was able to reach her and I wasn't.
Do we need to change their prime directives, Designation Gret? Should we embark on a science project and do some reprogramming? That is what you do when Zeke is malfunctioning.
Thank you, Zeke. No, I don't think we need to reprogram our friends.
Filing this away. Zeke shall not reprogram friends.
Good. Kynden was able to reach Sazey, bring her back. I think I just made things worse.
Zeke is not programmed to listen to Kynden. However, Kynden talks to Zeke like they are equals.
Yeah, I've seen the both of you playing.
Kynden has taught us many things, like how to hide and pretend to be a bush. Ooh. Zeke bobs up and down in a very happy fashion.
Yeah, I think I might be able to learn a little bit more from Kynden.
Zeke would like that. Zeke appreciates and likes Kynden.
Well, something to think about. I guess I don't know the group as well as I thought.
Question designation, Gret.
Yes.
Is thinking the problem?
No, thinking is definitely the solution.
Good. We will also add this to our prime directives. And he hovers up and down a little bit as the two of you begin to banter back and forth about the benefits of thinking everything through to its most logical conclusion.
All benefits, no negatives. Weird.
Yeah, there's going to be no downside to that.
As the fire is crackling, there is a brief moment when the clouds part and the moon is shining down. Birds of the night are beginning to cry out in the distance, and the wind seems to soften and still.
You don't have to stay and babysit me.
I'm not babysitting you. I love the way the earth looks here. Ooh, those granules are grainy.
You're sweet, Kynden, but if it's all the same to you, I'd rather be alone.
Oh,
It's nothing personal. Believe me, I just don't really feel as though I deserve your company.
Oh, well, that's not true. And you've been through a very, what's that say? You've been tough out of luck. And, sometimes when people are tough out of luck, they say things that they don't mean, or they think they need things that they don't actually need. And she scoots closer to Sazey.
Sazey, her initial instinct is to pull away, but Kynden's softness melts her more than she expected it to. And she kind of opens up and allows Kynden to kind of snuggle in towards her. And she slowly begins to rest her head atop Kynden's.
I know I'm not tiny, and I mean, I am tiny.
That you are.
But I'm not tiny. I'm not your tiny. But what am I saying? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be your daughter. I just, like, I have a mom.
Can I ask you a question, Kynden?
Yep.
How did you know your mom loved you?
Well, sometimes Mom make me really mad, and I'd be like, "What are you doing, Mom? You're like so annoying." But it was like the times when she wasn't telling me what to do or fussing with my hair, because it just wants to sit like this way, and there's this sprig that just shoots out to the left, and it won't go down. It doesn't matter what you do; it just sprigs out to the left. And oh yeah. So it's not those times when Mum's fussing, but it's when she's like, stirring the soup in the kitchen. And I'm just sitting at the counter and I'm watching her cook. She's really good at cooking. Oh, nothing tastes like Mum's food. And she would just kind of look at me from the side, and I see her lip just curl a little bit. And I knew that her body was just humming with love. And I could feel it, across the room.
Do you suppose Tiny feels my love?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you saw what I saw, right? Like when you were singing that lullaby? She was with you in that moment. And I know it didn't, end how you wanted, but she's still in there. I know. I can tell these things. I'm very good at this stuff. Sometimes it's just, you just gotta not think about it too much, and you just feel it. You just lead from the inside.
I hope you're right. But she looked at me with such hatred. She's never looked at me like that before.
Well, that was the part that she got from Callista. That's not the part she got from you. And the part that I saw where I knew that she loves you still, and she still knows who you are somewhere deep down, that's the part that you can reach. It's still there.
What if Callista's part is too big?
Have you met Callista? Nah, no. She's like, I would not want her for a mom. Like, could you imagine cuddling her? Like, actually think about it. Imagine a cuddle from Callista. That would be the worst.
Well, I haven't been there for 10 years to cuddle Tiny, so I guess a cuddle from Callista might be better than none at all.
Well, just think when she gets a cuddle from you.
What if she doesn't want a cuddle from me?
Well, I've had a lot of cuddles from you, and she squeezes in real tight, and they are the best. They're better than Fennec's.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Kynden.
You know, you can cuddle me as much as you like until you get back to Tiny. I know it's not the same, but I'm here, and you're welcome to love me if you want.
You're right, Kynden, it's not the same. But there are things about my cuddles with you that are just as good, if not better. So thank you. I'm grateful to you. Thank you for showing me love when I can't even love myself.
I do love you. As big as the moon and beyond. And then some more. And some more after that. It just keeps going.
I love you too.
Clouds above part. That storm that has been following you dissipates. The moon shines down, and after all this darkness that has been weighing on you all, the stars come out. Sleep is hard to come by for most of you, but eventually the soft breeze and the slow crackling of the flames as they fade down to warm, toasty embers manages to lull even the most busy mind to a few hours of slumber. Some of you have fallen asleep side by side, others on your own, some not even bothering to pull sleeping gear out, but merely leaning back against a wall, bottle in hand. Kynden, describe for me where Kynden has fallen asleep this night.
Kynden wandered off after her chat with Sazey and found a tiny, still puddle. She's been laying beside it, a restless sleep, and every so often she would look up and just disrupt the surface and gaze into her reflection.
It's during one such moment, as you place a finger in, and those ripples come out. As they begin to settle, you see that scar upon your face, a light with an energy all of its own. As you look in the puddle, you see a different face staring out at you. It looks eerily similar to your own, except for your short hair. It is long and blowing down past your shoulders. A white dress of simple homespun, but you can see at the edges where they're fraying dark threads of black, like ash, as though the dress is beginning to burn. The sky in the reflection is no longer that of the still night that you saw before you, but it is a deep red with streaks of harsh orange and yellow, as though the sky is on fire. You gaze in and you know this face, one that you have met only recently.
Kynden's heart is racing, her palms go sweaty. She's mesmerized by the puddle and absentmindedly reaches for a pendant that hangs from her neck. It is a yellow citrine raw gem and hangs from a leather cord. She squeezes it tight. If she were more aware, it is cutting into her hand.
swear you feel heat from the gem. You can almost smell searing flesh and ash and hear a hot breeze howling in the distance as Seraphina looks back at you.
Little feet, I am safe. Little feet, I am safe. She tries to avert her gaze but can't look away. Little feet, I am safe. Little feet, I am safe.
The reflection moves on its own without you. Are you safe? Really? Look at what happened to Val.
I don't know if I should listen to you.
If you're not going to listen to me, then who are you going to listen to?
Sazey, Fennec, Gret, Rusco, Andromeda.
None of them have your best interests at heart, Kynden. They all see you as small. They all see you as weak.
No, they don't.
Sazey didn't want you to follow them in. Sazey wanted you to stay and keep an eye on Skyfire. Fennec basically said the same thing.
No, that's not what they meant. They just didn't want me to get hurt.
Are you sure?
Yes. Where are you getting your information from?
You and I are the same, Kynden.
No, we're not.
We are.
No, I know what you did. Well, I don't, but I think I know what you did.
You know what I can do, though?
What?
I can make it so you never lose anybody like you lost Val. Ever again.
What? That's not possible. What? No, this is a trick. You would... I don't like this. Why are you tricking me?
I'm not trying to trick you. I'm trying to help you. I've looked out for you throughout your whole life. Through those moments, when has what I've done ever been bad? I saved your mum.
I know. That's true.
Why would I do that if I don't have your best interest at heart, Kynden?
Kynden's grasp on the gem softens. Well, how can you keep everybody safe?
See, there is a sadness that comes to Seraphina's gaze, though there is the weight of the world upon her face. There is a crackle of red lightning in the background of the reflection. You have to let me in. We only crack the door open a little bit, but if you let me, if you take more of my power, it can make you strong. It can make it so that you can save people.
I'll be big.
You don't need to be big to be strong.
Kynden's gaze finally averts. She, in her mind's eye, feels herself with a huge open space and fills it with bright yellow light. She submerges her hand into the water and allows the energy in. As her hand is beneath and submerged, something is tucked inside. This disrupts her and she pulls her hand out, opens it, but nothing's there. She looks back on the puddle as it wibbles and wobbles and comes to a still again, where she sees a reflection of just herself.
As you look at that reflection of yourself, and you understand that you opened yourself up to something, to someone, I need you to flip the coin, as this is an act that can alter a twist of fate for you, Kynden.
Oh, gladly.
Why are you so trusting?
I know, why, Kynden? Oh, okay. Here we go. Skull side.
No.
Do it for the plot.
Can I have a do-over?
As you look in to the reflection and you see yourself staring back at you, For a brief instant, you see that golden yellow light flicker across your eyes. But looking in there, you see that at its core is this dark, black flame. As that flame carries across to your left eye, it begins to trickle down into that scar that once was almost imperceptible, but now grows ever more. Morning comes, faint rising of the sun in the distance, tinging the horizon red and the clouds with luscious orange and pink. Sazey awakens first, as is her habit, as you move over to where the pot is and begin to gather together all of your instruments for cooking and the little supplies that are here. You see that you're not the only one that is awake in this moment. Nazran Velgar, like a statue carved from stone, sits on a stump, just staring at the ashes that are smoking before him.
You're up early?
To be up early requires one to have slept.
Ah. Same. Sorry you didn't get more sleep.
I'm sorry that you walked away from that place with me instead of your daughter.
Well, I guess some would call it a small victory.
Indeed. I have often found in my many centuries that the small victories are the ones that are hardest to swallow.
With that, I would have to agree. Suppose I should get some food together. Are you hungry?
No, but going through the motions of something mundane like making food seems like something that I should learn. He stands up and begins aiding you. I would like you to make a insight or perception check for me, Sazey.
23.
Wonderful. As you are going about beginning preparations for the morning meal, you incorporate your druid craft quite seamlessly throughout this process. Every now and then a vine will come up and help you to maintain stirring a pot whilst you're adding some spices or searching for something. And the display of your magic is effortless and just part of who you are. Velgar is attempting to aid you by either chopping up various vegetables or going through and cleaning, and you catch two things. First is that every time you use magic, he looks at it and there is something haunted in his gaze. The other thing that you notice is there is an extreme awkwardness to how he is going about doing these mundane tasks. And thinking back, you remember from your time in Haven with Velgar, and you remember that for the most part, Velgar utilized magic to do most of the things of this nature for him. He was not someone who was fond of getting his hands dirty.
Sazey continues to watch him through the corner of her eye, and then she says, "That's not enough onion. Would you mind grabbing more? There should be some just behind that rock in the fire pit."
Certainly. And you watch as he goes to move a hand up and do a gesture, and nothing happens, and he does a absolutely atrocious job at hiding the frustration and misery on his face as he looks down and then shoulders slump, walks over to grab the onion and move back to where you are and starts to begin slicing, and you can see there's some redness in his gaze. Damn, onions, always hated onions.
What's happened to you?
Many things, but none that I guess there's no point lying. My magic has been taken from me.
Taken from you? How?
I wish I knew. Baron. Something to do with that sword of his, holds his hand up, and you can see he's staring at them like they are a stranger's hands. Every scrap of arcana that I once held at the tips of my fingers is now gone. It's like there is a hole in my mind. I know how it should work. I can still occasionally daydream about the theorems, but when I go to enact my will, nothing happens.
Sazey turns towards him. She asks him to hold out his hands, palms up, and she puts her hands atop of his, just hovering so there's a space between them. She closes her eyes, and you can see a light kind of flowing from the center of her chest down her arms. It's a white, bright light and comes down from the palms of her hands, and like little tendrils fall through into his palms and start to vein up his arms.
As they vein up, you find the two of you are connected in a symbiotic fashion, similar to how there is a network of trees and how they can almost speak to each other. And as you reach out, that well of power that you feel within people that are able to bend arcana to their will, whether it is through divine means or they are born with the gifts, there's just a void. The best way that you can puzzle it out is it is as though all of the pieces that make up Valgar are still there, but that chunk has just been ripped out, and not in a kind fashion. You can feel as your lesser restoration goes through, that void that is in Valgar is growing and almost seeming to eat him from the inside out.
Feeling this, Sazey stumbles backward and the connection is broken. She gasps, "It's killing you."
There is a moment of grief that you see on his face, but it passes in an instant with a small, sarcastic grin upon his face. Well, we all get what we deserve at the end of the day, don't we? Spend your life pursuing a craft and sacrificing for it, and then at the end of the day, it's that very thing you gave up so much for that's going to take it all. This conversation is beginning to sort of filter out, and those of you that are light sleepers are beginning to stir as well and notice that Sazey and Nazran are having this in-depth conversation whilst the pot is beginning to boil over ever so slightly on the fire. Thank you for informing me. I had suspicions, but it's always good to know cold, hard facts at the end of the day. How else can one truly make a good judgment after all?
It doesn't have to be absolute. We just need to find and restore the missing piece.
Yes, and in order to do that, we just need to find a individual who seems to be possessed by a shard of one of the greatest dark necromancers to ever walk the realm. So,
yes,
just a simple task, really.
I'm quite familiar with these simple tasks, as you may know.
Your glibness is truly a breath of fresh air. I find that most other people generally try and sugarcoat things. It's nice to have somebody views the world in such a similar fashion.
It's nice to know that you appreciate it. I don't often spend time in the company of others, so I myself find myself hilarious.
No doubt you do. We of the shadows tend to be our own best company.
This is true. Is this something you wish to pursue?
There's a long pause as Valgar stares at some of the flickering flames and begins to clock. A few people beginning to stir in the campsite. If it so happens that we find ourselves in a position where I can reclaim my magic, I would be a fool to say that I will not jump at the chance. There is a greater cause that is before us right now, and I was put in charge to seize it, and now that I do not have my arcana at my hands, I need to contact certain people and ensure that they can find a suitable replacement. I will do whatever I can, whatever is in my power to aid you and the realm in its defense.
And you say it's a sword. You're sure of it?
Yes. I remember that blade from the War of Demise. It is the blade of Rathia the Black. Saldua gifted him that blade back in the Draconic Age. We've not been able to figure out exactly what powers that blade possesses. I know that Rathia only used a fraction of them last time, but it gives me a clue as to where we can begin our search.
Well, perhaps we can bring Gret into the conversation.
Yes, it's probably something everybody should know.
Hold fast to hope, my friend. I know it's fleeting, but sometimes it's all we have.
The dark elven features of Lazarn Velgar and those bright green eyes look at you, Sazey, and he is a hard elf. Hard one to read and one that keeps his cards close to his chest, but you can see that in this moment he is grateful for your words and your company. As the rest of you arise and gather around, Velgar looks out.
Andromeda kicks her way out of her tent, which has collapsed on her sometime during the middle of the night. Even though she's jammed her great axe in the ground to use as a tent pole, the flat of the blade smacks her in the face as she gets up, tangled, and she fights her way out, goes to start walking over to the fire, and is yanked backwards by the shackles. She got up in the middle of the night and attached herself to a tree so that she wouldn't hurt anyone unbeknownst to her. She walks over to Sazey and Mr. Velgar. You want help with that? And she picks up an onion and starts rapidly smashing at it with her great axe.
That's lovely, thank you, Andromeda.
Rusco helped me with my tent, and she points at it.
A expert's job that I myself could not have done better.
I would have to agree.
Thank you. Hey, so what do I do with this? And she holds up a pulverized onion.
I'll just take that off your hands. Why don't you see if you can collect us some water?
Okay.
Thank you, Andromeda.
As Andromeda goes off to get water and the rest of you arise, various aches and pains from your travels the day before, heads maybe a little sore depending on how much you imbibed the evening beforehand. You gather around the delicious smells of Sazey's cooking and you share a meal together. As you do so, Lazarn stands up and very awkwardly tries to straighten his torn vestments. You can see he's wiped some small portion of the blood away, but still looks like an absolute atrocious mess. Well, I know you did not intend to leave that spire with me, but truly I am grateful.
Sazey stands up, her head down, and she slowly raises it to look at everyone in the circle. I want to apologize for yesterday. I realize I said a great many things to push you all away. And perhaps it might be in your best interest to leave this mission, and I would completely understand if that was your choice. However, I'm not yet ready to give up. And as much as I hate to admit it, I still need all of you. But I no longer want to be your leader. I would ask that you, Gret, given your knowledge, given your level head, would be willing to take over as leader and perhaps give us all a fighting chance.
I will, thank you, Sazey. And I hope to take care of everyone here. Even though chaos does ensue, I will endeavor to take care of everyone, Gret says, looking around at everyone around the fire.
Thank you. Each and every one of you, thank you. I truly don't deserve your kindness or your compassion or your patience, but you've given it to me, and I'm truly grateful. And I hope in some small way I can repay you for all you've done for me.
This one's on the house for me. You don't owe me anything.
Yeah, I'm just glad you've come to your fucking senses, and if my head wasn't pounding right now, I'd probably have more to say, but...
Language, Fennec.
Here you go, my boy. Yeah, should do it. And Aiko just hands over a small cup. It has a very pungent smell of fermented berries and mushrooms coming out of it. It's just awful. Really offsetting what Sazey has created, but he gives a little cheers to Fennec and knocks his back as well.
Yeah, Fennec grimaces a little bit, but knows it's for the best and knocks it back as well.
I hope you're brushing your teeth after that. That smells disgusting.
Yeah, it tastes disgusting too.
Good job.
It appears that I owe you all not only for the acts that you undertook in Haven, but also for what you did to get me out of the clutches of Baron and Dark Vigil. It grieves me to say that I no longer have my magic at my disposal. It's been stolen from me by Baron, and so I will not be able to aid you in that regard. But information is the greatest treasure that we have, and I will, once I'm returned to Haven, do my best to pass on all I can to ensure that your success can be found.
That is our goal, to return you to Haven and to get ourselves there as well. Skyfire didn't return in the night. I don't know what that means, but I know it's not good.
I can reach out to Bristlepine and see if, through the network of trees, they might know where she is.
Please do. Does anyone else need to do anything? Gather up their supplies before we head out?
You watch as Velgar looks up to the sky, and you all begin to hear, oh so faintly, beating pair of wings, and you see in the distance two draconic forms begin to fly over the horizon, that sunrise flaring out behind them, the light of hope shining.
On second thought, it looks like our ride is here.
As the dragons begin to descend down, and you prepare yourselves for the next leg of your journey and all that comes with it, we're going to call it there for episode 3 of Twist of Fate. Light filters from a beautiful aquamarine pool, bubbles floating up to the surface, transforming into wispy vapors of a hot spring that is hidden deep within the bowels of the earth. Lying on a rocky shelf nearby, still bedecked in her glorious armor, phoenix upon the chestplate, cloak scattered about her. Val. Cuts, bruises, ash, all mar her, but she is alive. Her brow is furrowed. She twitches in uneasy sleep or unconsciousness, wrestling with demons that haunt her from within, while rising from the shadows behind her, a hulking monstrosity seems to fill the very fabric of this cavern. The grinding of stone upon stone can be heard as looming over the top of these two bright red eyes glare down at her.
Hi, I'm Kynden, and I want to give an extra special thanks from the bottom of my heart to David Abusafi, Kelly Brown, Connor O'Rourke, and Gary Guarini.
Twist of Fate is Lydia Campbell as Sazey Willowvale, Chelsey Styut as Val, Adam Klassen as Fennec Nazran, Melanie Ellyce as Kynden Treacle, Nikolai Witschl as Gret Vex, Ian Greenwell as Rusco Wanwa, Chelsey McPherson as Andromeda de la Phouka, and Braye as our narrator. With Adam Klassen as our composer, Braye and Melanie Ellyce as our editors, Callum Ruddick as our sound engineer, with mastering by Jordan Klassen, and Braye and Melanie Ellyce as our sound designers. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube at Twist of Fate Adventures, or follow our website, shows.acast.com/twist-of-fate. Links in the episode description. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us so that you don't miss out when our episodes drop. Your reviews are wonderful too. Those words and ratings help our story reach across the realm to find other adventurers seeking comfort through storytelling. Our next episode flies forth on the backs of dragons in 2 weeks. Until then, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. May you challenge destiny and shape your own twist of fate.